Hi there. We're so happy you've joined us for another informative edition of Jamaica Magazine. And I'm your host, Theodore Henry. Today we'll be looking at efforts to reduce crime and violence and seeing how art is changing the atmosphere of downtown Kingston. So sit back, relax for these and much more right after this important message.
Jamaica, we are in the throes of a pandemic. COVID-19 cases are on the rise. COVID-19 related deaths are climbing. COVID-19 bed capacity at our hospitals has been maxed out. Yet still, some of us continue to flout the COVID-19 containment measures. Some of us still refuse to wear masks in public places. We still gather in groups of more than 10. We still break the curfew hours. And we still attend illegal parties. Wise up! Take responsibility for your health. Safeguard the health of your loved ones. Obey the COVID-19 protocols.
Art is a key aspect of the Jamaican culture, and this is being infused in the built environment of the capital city, Kingston. Budding and inspiring painters are invigorating the cityscape with captivating murals. Let's take a look at this new, relaxing atmosphere.
After getting your fresh produce at the Coronation Market, make your way through the busy and bustling streets of downtown Kingston to the edge of the 7th largest natural harbor in the world. What you'll find is an art haven of bright, beautiful, breathtaking murals. Welcome to the Arts Page. You're in for a visual treat. Art has the power to revive, and through this, the once abandoned-looking buildings in downtown Kingston now don freshly painted murals, transforming the area into an artistic hub abuzz with admirers.
My mural depicts a representation of children in the inner city or from inner city communities that face challenging circumstances such as poverty, single parenting, and this shrunken ability to make positive decisions or choices. With that, the mural also depicts through the use of bright colors and the use of playful organic shapes and lines. It depicts this sense of hope and possibilities for change.
My mural is the big green mural with the women and the mushrooms. It's really about sexual coercion and sexual harassment and how these incidents can have long-lasting effects on women as they go through their lives. I kind of show that the idea with the mushrooms and how the mushrooms growing from them are like a parasite and how these issues can affect them.
Ubuntu, I am because we are. This is what I chose to depict for my new mural for Water Lane, and it really just shows the contrast and complement of Jamaica and Africa. So this mural, I wanted to show the difference just between, I guess, our mindset of how we see ourselves and who we were really called to be. So it shows your man and woman, which is your king and your queen, and then also a woman with the baby at her breast, epitomizing just the strength of a woman, and with the basket on her head, a bucket or basket of water. So water is life, woman being the life giver. But it shows even more, the great blue mountains, quote unquote, that's Jamaica, the highest peak. It goes further up, the giraffe, which most people know by now is my spirit animal, but it's also a gentle giant.
What we're trying to do is to remove that stigma and help us to see the beauty of downtown. Downtown Kingston is very, very special. It has a lot of assets through its heritage, its history.
Transforming and rebranding downtown Kingston is the mission of Kingston Creative, a non-profit arts organization.
We're founded in about 2017, and we're really centered around creative people. So our theory is that if you can empower the amount of creative people we have in Jamaica and enable them to succeed, they will then in turn employ people from their families, their communities, and together we'll get, growth in our creative economy. We'll have a healthy creative ecosystem.
You can take a stroll down Water Lane to fully experience, grasp, and get lost in the stories on the wall.
So we've partnered with the KSAC and with the Tourism Enhancement Fund and the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. And we're developing this walkway that goes east-west. It connects our National Gallery on Orange Street, and then you walk along Water Lane and it connects you back with our museums that are on East Street. So it's a natural progression. We used to just walk up and down this lane as we're going on our art walk. And then we started talking to the owners and creating these murals. And now we have about 65 new murals in downtown that we've created since 2018.
Artists and other creatives can also benefit from a creative hub and other initiatives. This includes the recently concluded Catapult program, an emergency grant for creatives.
It allowed creatives to go on an artist residency for 2 months and they were paid $3,000 US. It allowed them to put their work online and they're paid $500 US. It really was a process of giving creatives grants so they could continue creating during the pandemic. We reached over 1,210 creatives in 26 different countries across the region with this partnership with the American Friends of Jamaica. It was our biggest grant to date. We've just signed a $1.295 million US partnership with the IDB. This is a 3-year partnership to explore what happens at the intersection of creativity and technology.
Kingston Creatives is also a new member of the Global Cultural Districts Network and is listed among others such as Paris, London, and Dubai. Thanks to the efforts and partnership of Kingston Creative, downtown Kingston is well on its way to become a vibrant art district and a space for people to really enjoy our rich culture.
It's absolutely critical that we receive the vaccines. You will see hospitalizations and indeed deaths likely come down. And so there is a lot of value to be gained by getting as many vulnerables on board as possible. So tell your mothers, tell your aunts, listen out for yourselves if you're over 60 and take the vax, because the vax is what will help you to guard against the COVID virus and indeed help your relatives, your friends, those who you come in contact with for the same benefit.
Government is focused on making our environment safer and has been putting measures in place to control crime, including those committed with the gun. In our next feature, we'll see where this work is being boosted by modern technology.
The FLA, like all other departments in the ministry, are going through a process of modernization to make them fully equipped with the requisite technology and the structures to manage security apparatus in the 21st century. So in fact, they have acquired some bullet tracks machine to track both the casing and the warhead necessary. More critically, they have acquired a laser engraving machine, which means from now on, every licensed firearm in Jamaica will have a ID installed by laser, which means wherever it is found, we can know who was the original owner, who brought it in, and that it is in fact a licensed firearm in Jamaica. So the laser ID is a critical part of the FLA's tools to manage the firearm industry in Jamaica.
We have also acquired data concentrators to improve the database and the network, the processing time for all our systems. That has vastly assisted us in terms of the timeline in which we are able to process from the application to the testing of firearms. And it must be noted that all ballistic testing of firearms are uploaded immediately to the forensic unit. It's a joint venture program between the Ministry of National Security and the Inter-American Development Bank. The FLA was allocated $400,000 in terms of to improve the infrastructure.
It's critical that the authority is well resourced. And by resource, we're looking at the human resource, the human capacity. And you can see where they're actually doing tremendous work in ensure that we have the requisite skill set in the authority to take on the tasks that is actually required to satisfy its mandate. Also important in this regard is for the authority to best leverage technology, because that is going to make a vast difference. The more you can actually move away from much of the human element to actually limit opportunities for possible corruption and so on, and enhance efficiency. That is what the technology will actually do.
So it's important that the Firearms Licensing Authority have a strong and robust system of accounting for the licensed firearms in the country.
We currently receive an average of 3,000 firearms applications per month. And once the application comes in, we have a turnaround time of between 6 months to a year to complete the process, which takes it through the application, the interview. We have improved our processes in terms of the investigation. We have automated the process. So we have now online tracking. So persons who drop off their application are immediately informed of their unique ID number to track the application online, and the system also sends an email to the applicant each time there's an update on your application. An email is received and you can go online to track the processes. So there's no need to call the FLA or to find anyone to assist you. You go online and the application process from the start to the finish is done online. And so we continue to improve the processes and the system to ensure that as fast as possible, applicants are told whether they are denied, deferred, or approved for a license.
FLA is moving in the right direction to create the kind of modern face that we require for the entire security system in Jamaica.
We work to make communities safer by essentially looking at the structures in the community that contribute greatest to social capital building. Try to reinforce, build, and establish those structures in a way that the community can sustain their own safety and own their own peace. When we say, for instance, we're doing a zinc fence removal program, what we're really doing is improving the line of sight. If you're on the street and you can see better what is behind the fences, then as you walk along the street or children play and etc., you're able to contribute to crime prevention. We believe in terms of our mandate and our responsibility that by making communities safer, we can make Jamaica safer.
If you're operating a business, public or private, you might want to check out the info we'll share in this next feature. It's all about key productivity drivers and factors that affect growth.
The Ministry of Labour and Social Security, through the Jamaica Productivity Centre, JPC, has been developing and implementing programs as well as conducting workshops to assist individuals, companies and firms optimize their efficiency and drive productivity improvement in Jamaica. The JPC recently hosted a virtual session that brought accomplished individuals and high achievers in one setting to share needed information on how productivity can be achieved and its impact on society. Productivity in simple terms is how efficient an input is converted to output. When this happens, economic growth and the country's development is fueled because of the increased goods and services produced with greater efficiency. Businesses will realize higher profit as they produce more outputs from lower input due to the systems they implement. Their competitiveness will improve and they will be able to better compensate employees. Citizens will realize improvements in their standard of living and will be able to exercise higher levels of consumption of goods and services even with reduced working hours. Higher economic growth measured by increased gross domestic product (GDP) output resulting from an increase in productivity will also benefit the country. How? Through the generation of larger tax revenue for government. This allows for greater investments in infrastructure and services, including education, healthcare, welfare, transportation, roads, water, and more. Gross domestic product (GDP) is the sum of labor productivity, capital intensity growth, and total factor productivity. Therefore, increases in all three areas equate to us having a booming economy. JPC has found that there are several factors that hamper productivity that need to be treated with urgency. They include bureaucracy, low value-added production, crime, traffic congestion, lack of suitable technology and capital investment, as well as job and skill mismatch and limiting international trade flows. As it relates to labor productivity, the JPC recommends that companies and firms, public or private, small or large, research what is happening in their industry and make innovative changes on a consistent basis. Where enterprises are shifting from being more labor-intensive to technology, such as artificial intelligence, they must seek to create the right balance between human effort and technology to optimize productivity. Integrating the right technology and a smart business process that is measurable, result-based and time-based is now an essential part of the solution for firms to optimize productivity. This includes establishing customer service platforms and payment gateways that are responsive. Every worker needs to know what is required of them, with the worker and supervisor using verifiable established targets.
You cannot improve if you're not measuring. You won't know what to do, and we'll just be all based on a gut feeling. And so that's one of the things we want to encourage us, even as individuals, organizations, to have that culture or habit of measuring and measuring what matters, right? And not just measuring everything, but measuring what matters and working to improve on those gaps that exist.
The Labour and Social Security Ministry, through the Jamaica Productivity Centre, has started its very own modernization exercise through the institution of a digital records management system, moving a number of its services online as it upgrades its network and investing in new technologies to improve efficiency. Investing in research and development and facilitating the creative, scientific and technological expertise of Jamaicans will spur innovation and the creation of new products and services to transform industries to meet the demands of the fourth industrial revolution.
For example, we have agriculture. Agriculture could be transformed to an high-level agricultural sector. And I'm thinking also with that, there can also be greater linkages between the goods producing and service producing sector.
Enhancing productivity, quality and competitiveness through world-class individuals will require a culture of continuous training.
We have to learn how to accept or create structures that allow innovation, allow change, to build a culture of continuous learning and improvement. Let us start with access to broadband. Broadband can give us that quantum leap forward in Jamaica, tied with a digital literacy program for people of all ages, tied with schools that focus on continuous learning and continuous improvement.
We need higher education and more focused training programs, upskilling the global services industry. So that's basically like the BPO.
There's the possibility for individuals to use the internet and free education available online to advance productivity and for maximizing on remote working in this increasingly digital world.
working on your own individual digital literacy, being familiar with the tools that are out there, not just for consumption, but what the possibilities are. And there's so many resources online that you can find to do that. Coursera, Udemy, and these are their platforms in their own right. Another one too that's really good, because I find that the things on Coursera and Udemy tend to maybe work best if you've already completed high school and university. If you need to bring your math skills up to date, you can use a resource like Khan Academy.
Increased education and training, certification, quality management and leadership, rewards and incentives, innovation, having the right technology, automation and tools, and using those to full capacity are all key tenets of long-term productivity. Of course, all this doesn't necessarily mean working harder. Instead, it's all about working smarter.
Thumbs up. It's the way to go, because COVID is going to be with us for a little while. So let us use ends to fight COVID in terms of getting persons to have their needs met as best as we can. I just want to say thank you, ends, and continue doing what you're doing. Yes, we will have teething pains, but guess what? After the pain, there will be gains.
Ends, e-commerce national delivery solution.
What is a screen reader?
A screen reader is a piece of assistive technology that captures information from your screen and converts it to speech or as braille on a braille display.
Are there different types of screen readers?
So for the Windows-based computers, there are 3 types of screen readers that are used. There's the most famous one, JAWS, Job Access with Speech. There is NVDA, that means non-visual desktop access, and there is Narrator that is built into Windows. So for this demonstration, I'll be using JAWS. And if JAWS is already installed on your system, all you need to do is go to your desktop, press J for JAWS and press enter, and it will announce that it has been loaded. Right. So I'll be also using Microsoft Word to demonstrate how we type and how the screen reader works with us when we're typing. So I am now going to go ahead and type something, and you will hear the screen reader reading what I type, letter for letter.
I, space F, Y, space F, A, F, E, space I, S, space spelling error, A, F, I, O, F.
Right? And if I want to hear what I type, I use the arrow keys on the keyboard, and it will tell me what I type.
Hi, my name is Damien.
Hi, my name is Damien. And that was what I typed. So this is how the screen reader works, along with Microsoft Word and any other program that we use on the computer. Also, for our mobile devices, yes, they too also have screen readers. So for the iOS, there's one called VoiceOver. And on the Android-based system, there is Google TalkBack, and Samsung also has their own screen reader that is called Voice Assistant. So for this demonstration, I'll be using Google TalkBack on a mobile phone. And how the screen reader works is if I put my finger anywhere on the screen and there's an icon there, then the screen reader will announce that icon. Let's try this.
Chrome. Double tap to activate. Double tap and hold to long press. Actions available. Use swipe up then right to view.
Okay, so the icon that I touched was Chrome. And after it mentioned that I touched Chrome, it gave me some actions that I could carry out. So if I double tap, it would have opened Chrome. And it also gave me some other actions that I could carry out if I wanted to.
Where can screen readers be accessed?
Well, for the computer, you can purchase JAWS. It's quite expensive. It's about $1,200 US for the package. You can purchase it from Freedom Scientific. Also, for the mobile devices, once you purchase the device, the screen reader comes built into the device. So all you have to do is go into the accessibility settings and turn it on.
What is a white cane?
A white cane is a device that is used by both blind and visually impaired persons to navigate their way in any open space. How the white cane works is that you extend the hand with the cane out in front of you, and while walking, it will pick up surfaces and obstacles that may be in the way.
Where can white canes be accessed?
If you're blind, you can purchase a white cane at the Jamaica Society for the Blind for $3,000.
What is a prosthesis?
A prosthesis is a device used to replace a lost limb.
Are there different types of prosthesis?
Some of the different types of prosthesis would be upper limb, below knee, and above knee. This is an example of an above knee prosthesis. The components here: socket, a liner that goes in here, which is this part, which is this, a flexible knee, stainless steel titanium pylon, foot shell, carbon fiber blade. Those are the components for a prosthesis, above knee. Yes? I'm going to show you what below knee prosthesis is. Here we are. Again, this is your liner, which fits onto your stump. This is the below knee. Fits onto the stump, fits into the socket, which is this. Pylon, carbon fiber shell.
Tips to care for your prosthesis.
Normal cleaning tips to take care of the prosthesis would be cleaning it with a non-abrasive cleaner, such as a hand soap. And that's basically what it is. Normal adjustments and things like that will be done by our prosthetic technician at the clinic. The other part of it is easy. It's a snap in, snap out, and he's going to show you how he takes it off. So go ahead, take it off. Comes off. This is your leg. Puts it back on. Locks into place. It's good to go.
Where can I get more information or help?
More information can be had at the Surgex Prosthetic Clinic at the Sir John Golding Rehab Center, Mona, Kingston.
A production of the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
We've come to the end of another wonderful journey. Thank you for your company. Be sure to join us again tomorrow for another show. But until then, continue to watch these and other programs by logging on to our website, jis.gov.jm, or subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can also find us on all the major social media platforms and through our mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Theodore Henry. Until next time, stay COVID-free and do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.